In 3.5, we're going to learn one rule that applies differently to inequalities than it has in solving solutions of equations equal to. Now, when you're solving inequalities that are using multiplication or division, you solve them the same as we solved equations unless we are going to multiply by a negative or divide by a negative. If we do that, we need to reverse the sign, the inequality sign. We will just flip it to make it face the other way. So let's go ahead and see what this would look like. The first one I'm going to do is a division one. M divided by a negative 3 is greater than 3. So to get my variable by itself, I'm going to do the inverse operation and I'm going to need to multiply. I'm going to multiply by that denominator that is a negative number. So I'm going to multiply both sides by a negative 3. When I do that, I'm going to negative 3 over negative 3, that would equal 1, so that gives me my m. However, because I multiplied by a negative, and we're dealing with inequalities, I'm going to reverse that sign. And 3 times negative 3 is going to give me a negative 9. Now in the next one, we start out with multiplication, so I'm going to divide. But to get rid of that coefficient, I'm going to divide by a negative 10. Do that on both sides. So negative 10 over negative 10 would give me a positive 1, which is t. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reverse that sign. So it's going to be as less than or equal to. And then 34 divided by 10 would, divided by a negative 10 would give me negative 3.4. Okay, so if you're multiplying or dividing to get your variable to be a single variable, you need to reverse the way that the sign is in the original inequality. Let's see what that looks like when we're talking about a word problem. So we have some Canada geese, and they can fly nonstop for up to 16 hours. In this time, a flock can migrate as far as 848 miles. At what average speeds can such a flock fly during migration? So we're going to take our flight time, which is the 16 hours, but we do not know what our average flight speed is. We're going to need to multiply that, and we're going to say that that's going to equal, because it's going to be each, so that's going to be equal to the maximum flight distance, which would be 848 miles. Now I got it for each because it would be miles per hour. We're going to go ahead and we're going to divide both sides by 16. Whoops, why did I have an M in there? I guess I was going to write miles. I didn't even see that. Let me get rid of that, otherwise it looks like we have two variables. When I was talking, I was going to go ahead and write miles in there. Divide both sides by 16. This time I'm dividing by a positive, so I do not want to reverse my sign. I'm going to say that the speed needs to be less than or equal to, and 848 divided by 16 equals 53. So my answer is going to be that that the geese need to fly at a speed of 53 miles per hour or less during their migration. The speed can be less than or equal to. So 53 miles per hour or less if they're going to get as far as 848 miles. So that was writing an inequality and then solving. And that finishes lesson 3.5.